We said we would do it. Welcome back. I don't know if y'all heard me. I was on mute. My apologies. Um, it's time to do a look back to 2023. Last week we said when we did the 2024 rankings and then we did 2024 trivia, it was so much fun. We said, you know what, as painful as it might be, um, we'll do 2023. So that's what we're doing today. So I've been doing some research and something came up in the 2023 season that nobody has talked about. Just like total shocker that nobody has brought this up. I'm like, I know I haven't heard it. I know I didn't say it, but I haven't heard anybody else say it because then I wouldn't be waiting to see it in the NFL. Does anybody know what I'm talking about? All right. So first, what we're gonna do? Welcome everybody in. Welcome. Um, we're going to start with the schedule. Who we were plan to play for 2023. Then we're going to go on to the scores, and then we're going to talk about the best games of 2023 and the absolute worst games of 2023. Now, y'all know the season was what? 4-8. So let's get into it, shall we? All right. But first, I want to say thank you for what she did, members, friends, and family. Great season. So, thank y'all so much. My day one, Pam, thank friends for what she did. Thank you for the interaction. 400%. Yeah. Thank you for being consistent, a constant, excellent interaction. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining, becoming part of the squad. Friends of what she said, I appreciate you. And Darlene, our newest member, she says, thank you so much that you could join us. All right. I appreciate everybody. Thank y'all once again for supporting the channel. All right. So now I will get to the schedule. Hope everybody had a good day. All right. Let me get to the schedule. All right. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. It's an image. All right. All right. So I know y'all remember this. I distinctly remember when the 2023 schedule came out, Coach Prime's first year at CU. I distinctly remember this schedule. And I was like, that's sharp. Coach Prime's first year, right? And we had high expectations. And y'all know the season started out doing really well. You know how it went down. All right. So let's talk about who we played in 2023. First game of 2023 was TCU. Now, y'all know TCU had been in the Natty the year before. We were expected to lose this game. We're going to talk about the outcomes next. We're just trying to jog our memory. I watched some highlights today. I encourage you, if you're over there and you have the ability to watch a different device, pick a game and just watch it, because we're going to have some trivia, not today, but we're going to go over, eventually we're going to have some trivia. Nebraska, so TCU, Nebraska. Let's see if you jog your memory for the Nebraska game. The first time you couldn't wear red. If you were new to CU, you didn't know. I think Jimmy Horn Jr. didn't get it at first, but he eventually got it. The third game should have been Colorado State. Is that who that was? Let's see. Yeah, it should have been Colorado State, the third game. Then the fourth game was Oregon. I distinctly remember Oregon, Cinderella. Cinderella story is over. Dan Lanning hating on Coach Prime, ESPN being instigators. This is the first time we felt like sabotage happened, and we kind of felt like we knew who was doing the sabotage. SC, I'm gonna go with the University of South Carolina. That's what I recall. I remember it was during this time we played against Jerry Rice's son, Brendan Rice. I remember this game distinctly because Carmani held Jerry Rice, did a pass breakup on the legend Jerry Rice's son, Brendan Rice, who used to play for CU and wear number 2 right before Coach Prime came. I don't know what made him transfer to USC. I do believe he is in the league. Y'all have heard me talk about it multiple times, that he was expected to go in the 3rd round, right around a week ago. And now people kind of know what's going down with the NFL draft when he came out, just like right now. And he went dead last. He went so far dead last. I don't even know if he had joined the NFL. I'm looking at his stats and contract, because it was like all blank lines, just dotted lines, like as if he decided, I don't want to do this. But he plays for the Chargers. I don't know if he still plays for the Chargers, if he'll be playing next year, but he did end up playing for the Chargers. I felt like they were a little brutal on him, and I don't know why. I was asked, what did I think Shiloh would be drafted? I always refer to Brendan Rice. His father, Jerry Rice, was a legend. And I don't know why they would do it like that. And Jerry Rice was PO'd. He was perturbed. You know, I don't think his son was that bad. But Kamani did get a pass breakup on him. I do remember that. So he is in the league, you know, but it was not. It looked like he was snubbed, but then again, I didn't watch his career. I don't know why he left CU. I felt like he should have stayed at CU, but he decided to leave for whatever reason. Let's see. Then we have, it appears to be the Arizona Blue Devils. What are they? The Golden Devils? ASU. Herm Edwards' old team before Coach Prime got there. During the pandemic eras, Jaden Daniels used to play for them as well. Then the Stanford game. I know a lot of people remember this game because we were up. We were going to win. First half, it was ours. Came out of the locker room and just let their guard down and got toasted. That was one play in particular. I think Travis got burned really badly. Yeah. Shedeur got some blame because they said on the sideline he had picked up his phone and was communicating with somebody. There's something about his website. I'll never forget it. Yeah, that was bad. That was a lesson that they never forgot. So it got too comfortable. Then there was the UCLA game. That was a game, it just looked like the O-line was allowing UCLA to tee off on Coach Prime's son, Shedeur Sanders, and it might have had something to do with that outgoing O-line coach, possibly. It could have. What do y'all think? And that was an ugly game. And in fact, I remember the head coach of UCLA kind of telling Shedeur, they allowing our team to tee off on you. Something to that fact. Then there was, who was that? Let me see if I can see that. I can't even see who that is. One moment. I have to probably go to another. I can't even see who that is. Who was after UCLA? It looks like, no, that's not Washington State. I can't tell what that is. I gotta look it up. Let's see. It's a little blurry. Colorado football 2023. Okay. Who was that? Let's see. Is that basketball or football? Colorado football schedule. Oh, that's 2025. I hope it let me go back to 2023. It might not. I was trying to see if it was going to let me see who we played in 2023, but I must have downloaded on my computer. Let's U of H schedules. Let's see. Maybe I could go back. Here we go. I could go back. Historical data. You got to love it. All right. In 2023, that was Oregon State. I think they called the Beavers. They said that must be a beaver. Okay, so that was Oregon State. Okay. Then after we played Oregon State, we played Arizona. Now, if memory serves me right, Shedeur, the first time he did his selling, I think that was Arizona State. I believe that was Arizona State. They were hating big time. They were calling him all kind of like just burning his name in effigy. That was Arizona State, not Arizona. So I'm not gonna put that on Arizona. So after Oregon State, it was Arizona. Then it was Washington State. Then it was Utah, the last game of the season. All right, so that was the schedule. Welcome, everybody. Welcome. All right, so now that we have refreshed our memory slightly with the schedule, TCU, Nebraska, Colorado State, Oregon, USC, ASU, Stanford, UCLA, Oregon State, Arizona, Washington State, and Utah. Now let's take a look. Now let's switch to the scores. All right. So I actually was able to get my hands on the scores. So I'm going to put that on the screen next. Let me know instantly before we start ranking good versus bad or terrible. What game did you remember prior to this conversation that stood out to you? What game in 2023 stood out to you for the Colorado Buffs? Like what game you could just see it in your mind without having to go back and watch the highlights? You know the outcome, and you felt some type of way about it, or maybe it was a good outcome. Don't rank it yet. Just what game stood out to you in 2023? Okay. All right, let's see. So let's go with the scores. So we're going with the scores. And let's see who we have here. Colorado versus TCU, 45-42. Then we have Nebraska 14, Colorado 36. I remember that game. I think for me, TCU stood out the absolute most for obvious reasons. His first game, Coach Prime era at CU. And 45-42, close game. It was exhilarating. It was fun. I was actually supposed to be there. I remember that. Then there's Colorado State versus Colorado. Now that game should stand out to us. That's the one where Henry Blackburn hit that late dirty hit on Travis Hunter. Remember that one? That was 35-43. Travis had to be out. We lost him for a while. Then we began to slide. Some people say because we lost Travis. Other people say sabotage. Oregon had our playbook. Did Oregon have our playbook? This is when Colorado was up 3-0 before we go to Oregon. Everybody's feeling mighty high. Coach Prime keeping receipts. Remember what people said about CU? People had to start eating crow. And it seemed like there was a whole lot of shenanigans going on behind the scenes. And I don't think anybody ever thought that somebody on the inside, people would conspire to take this team down from within. Not just the refs, like last year, like we talked about, or year one. People on the inside who were probably put in place to make sure CU would win. And it was said that some people felt left out, that all of the credit was going to Shedeur. I'm like, he is the quarterback. That's kind of how it works. So some people felt some type of way that maybe their name wasn't being discussed. So we rolling mighty, we rolling high, we go to Oregon. Dan Lanning is super confident, saying the Cinderella story is over. Just basically on ESPN, just just basically just popping off at the mouth saying that we do things at CU for clicks. They play for clicks. People didn't like that. People didn't like that at all. So the game starts. I remember before the game, somebody was in the middle of the field from CU, and supposedly they, did something to the grass. I don't know. It just was not a good game. And I remember the Oregon game as much as I choose not to. I can recall, I remember saying, as we're into the game, why does it seem like Oregon knows exactly what CU is getting ready to do? And after the game, Coach Prime said they might have our playbook. Coaches do sometimes call around to get inside info, but we still have to execute the plays. So he felt like we didn't execute the plays, or that was just his way of softening the blow and not letting it get to him and the team and everybody else and get out of control. That it's possible that somebody on his staff was doing what they did to Herm Edwards. Herm Edwards was at ASU, and his assistant coaches gave away his playbook to the opponent in hopes that he would lose and get fired. That was in 2020. Jaden Daniels was the quarterback. We talked about the recruiting violation that supposedly is what got Herm Edwards fired after it was learned that his assistant coaches gave away his plays so he could get fired. But they hung his firing, which was very public and on the field. They hung it on a recruiting violation. The violation was about Jaden Daniels, that they were still recruiting during the off period during the pandemic in 2020. And we talked about Jaden Daniels' mom supposedly paid for tickets for Jaden to go visit another school, ASU, I guess. During the time when you weren't supposed to be doing that, she decided to pay. And she got caught up in that recruiting scandal. So did Antonio Pierce, who went to the Vegas Raiders and got fired. So sometimes you just got to wait. You just can't force everything. You just got to wait. And that was in 2020 when Herm Edwards was there. That was the pandemic. Coach Prime came to CU on the heels of 2022. So 3 years later, it seems that somebody remembered what happened to Herm Edwards and thought they would try it at CU. That's what it was given. So people started to look within and figure out who was the culprit. It wasn't just an incompetent O-line. It seemed like they were possibly making business decisions. But at the behest of who? Right. So that was Oregon, 42-6. Now, that was the first time that season that Colorado had been handed a loss, and it was an annihilation. It was intended to humiliate, put some people in their place, so-called humble some individuals. But it seemed like you needed help from people on the inside to get it done. So let's move on to USC and Colorado. Notice 48-41, 7-point game. Colorado versus Arizona State. I think that's where the Selly perfect timing came in. Hell, the song came out either probably right around that time or afterwards. 27-24, CU won that game. Arizona State was not happy. They were quite rude. They were giving Texas Tech just mouthing off, yapping, is what they say in 2025. They were just yapping, being rude. And then there was Stanford. The game CU was supposed to win because they had a sizable lead going into the half, but came back and lost. Number 13 from Stanford, I'll never forget it. I don't know if they just let him loose because he did the damn thing. 46-43, and our best got burned. Then there was UCLA. Very ugly game. It seemed that there was some internal rumblings. I noticed them and actually did a video about it, but it was on my first channel, where I said when we got to Oregon, CU has some internal issues. I said that after Oregon. I said it again at UCLA, that there was some internal issues happening. And indeed there were. All right. So That's the first few games. So let's switch to the last few games. All right. So hopefully this has jogged your memory. So we're going to go ahead and get the other parts. What? Let's see. All right, here we go. These are the last few games of 2023. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I see y'all back there. Telling y'all hit the like button for me, please. Shout out to 85% of What She Said subscribers. Y'all watch the channel. That's excellent for a young channel to have 85% of its subs returning. Hit the like button. Show me some love. Thank y'all so much. I appreciate it. So kudos to you for coming back and you being consistent. So only about 15% of people watch and aren't subscribed. So if I could get somebody to lead the charge in the chat to make sure we encourage people to subscribe and or like the content, I appreciate it. Christmas is coming eventually. And I can be Santa or Mrs. Claus. So I appreciate your efforts in making sure the channel grows. All right, so here we go. The last few games. Colorado. Oh, wait, we didn't talk about Oregon State. So it was Oregon State versus Colorado. Oregon State won that game 26-19. Again, 7 points. Now, what people didn't realize that y'all may have heard people talk about, Colorado didn't have a lot of blowouts. They only had two. They only had two blowouts, Oregon State and Washington State. The rest of the games were close, but they were ugly because Shedeur was allowed to be sacked. The O-line chose not to protect. You're not that incompetent. I get it. Y'all went 1-11 last year, but some of these guys were new. Then there's Arizona. Again, another close one, 34-31. And then there's Colorado versus Washington State. That's the second BTA. That's the second annihilation. That's the second blowout. There were only two blowouts. Then there was Utah. Add 7 points to 17, and, it's just a touchdown. So people wanted to make more of it than it was with the 4-8. And I think it's because they started out as 3-0. And people were upset because Coach Prime was basically telling people, I keep receipts. I remember what y'all was saying about us. Rightfully so, because they said he couldn't do it. They said coming from an HBCU, they couldn't do it. And not only did they do it against Texas Tech, they did the damn thing against a team that was in the Natty the year before. And then they went 3-0 solid straight. And then internal issues hit. Even with internal issues, they only lost by 7. Shedeur kept us in the game. Except for Washington State and Oregon. Oregon looked like they had help. I don't know if Washington State had help, but Oregon damn sure looked like they had some help. So that's the games that we played. That's the scores that we accumulated for the most part. Even going 4-8, Shedeur sacked 52 times. Most games were only lost by a touchdown. That's pretty good, especially after going 3-0. And it used to annoy me when people would talk about the 4-8 as if they earned that 4-8, as if there was no sabotage. Clearly there was. Now, Coach Prime is very diplomatic. I can say that about him. Other people wouldn't have been. They would have just called it out blatantly as to what it was. But the fans, we took care of that. So let's go. Let's see now. All right. So now it's time to start ranking. Let me check the comments, see who's in here. Welcome, everybody. And then what can we do? We can start ranking. All right. Hey, Gracie. Happy Friday Eve. Yes, 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 yes. Jerry said TCU is the game that stands out for him. TCU is a game that stands out for me, too. I agree with that. Let's see if I can put TCU in the chat for me, because that's the standout game. Yeah, TCU for me as well. So B said, I believe it. What's that, B? when you say I believe it? What's that you believe? Welcome, welcome, welcome. So, all right. V, let me know in the comments what you referring to when you say I believe it. So essentially, we're gonna go back to the beginning and we're gonna begin to rank these teams. I'm going to use the score rather than the schedule because it might help you a little bit. Normally we just use the schedule. And then we type into the chat what it is, the ranking that we give the game. All right. So I know we just talked about TCU being the standout game, but let's start with the worst. Let's get the bad out the way, and then we can celebrate the good. We have 14 days until the NFL draft. So we'll spend the next few days ranking the best, then we'll do the worst. I mean, ranking the worst, then we'll do the best. And then what we'll do is trivia. And then we'll be a week closer to the NFL draft. All right. Okay. All right. So, in looking at this schedule, all right. TCU. Okay. Out of these, let me see. TCU, Nebraska. I think I might have to use the schedule because I think you can see it all at once. That's how we did it last time. So I'm just gonna do it that way, and that way it'll just be easier for us. Okay, because we can go off of memory. It's better to go off memory than score. All right. So, what was the absolute worst game we played? Remember, we only had 2 blowouts. However, our quarterback was sacked 52 times. So you can take that into consideration because what people talked about was how painful it was to watch Shedeur get sacked. To me, the UCLA game wasn't a blowout, but it was ugly because Shedeur was allowed to be sacked so many times. The only 2 blowouts, Oregon, and Washington State. So what do y'all say? The worst game that we played in 2023, would you say it was Oregon? Because, the first game that we lost, that's where the slide started. Or is it Stanford? Is it Stanford? Because we were up at half by a sizable margin and we were expected to win that game. Or was it Arizona State because their fans were so rude and we won that game? So kind of like Arizona State and Texas Tech had a lot in common. Just straight rude. Seemed like the same school almost, now that I think about it. Then there was Washington State, 56-14. I watched the highlights of that game today and everybody got burned. It was terrible. I don't know if it's because the ground was wet. There was one play where it's like the quarterback handed the ball to number 23 at the time, who could have been Isaiah Agostave, because I don't think he was there in 2023, so it was somebody else. And that person was handing the ball off to Dylan Edwards, number 3. And then he slipped on the ground. The ball fumbled. And then Washington State picked it up and ran for a touchdown. That's the type of game that Washington State was. Everybody, defense looked like they didn't even know. Colorado's defense was horrible. Travis got burned. Anybody that played defense in 2023, Shiloh got burned. Shiloh, Travis, if Carter Stoudemire was number 23 at the time on defense, he got burned. If DJ McKinney was there, he got burned. Everybody got burned on defense in this game. I think we had only scored 14 points. At one point, I saw Ryan Staub toward the end of the highlight reel playing in the game. Shedeur wasn't even in the game. I don't even know if Shedeur played in that game because I remember after the UCLA game, he had a back injury. So, but he had stats. So he did play. He had stats. So those are the games that stand out to me as some of the worst losses. I don't even remember the Utah game, the Arizona game. All I remember about the Utah game is that coach rode in on a motorcycle. But I don't know how the game, I don't remember anything spectacular about that game. Oregon State, don't remember anything spectacular about it. Arizona, nothing spectacular. USC, honestly, it was exciting because that's when we finally saw Carmani play. And people had been like, why is he not playing? Well, that was a horrible situation. And Coach Prime was basically like, because he's not doing what he's supposed to do. But there were people who felt like Coach Prime was controlling Carmani. I read comments with my own two eyes from grown men saying, let that man play and stop trying to control him. They did not want some people from, I think, where he was from, that area of the state, probably the state, Florida, did not want Coach Prime disciplining, trying to mold this young man into a disciplined young man. He clearly was struggling with something. He struggled with it at Florida his first year. But I think he finally has seen the light and might be on the right path. I pray he is. He's young. Hopefully he gets it. Sometimes that's what it takes. But there were people who was upset with Coach Prime that he wasn't playing game one. And then when Coach Prime finally came out and said, because he wasn't doing what he was supposed to do, there were people that were upset with that. You're throwing him under the bus. How was he throwing him under the bus? You keep asking, so he said he's not doing what he's supposed to be doing. Coach Prime is very firm on, if you don't do what you need to do in school, you're not playing on this field. That was in 23. It was true in 24. And in 25, I've already heard it. Like the first spring practice, first meeting, the second meeting. I heard it again. Some of y'all not going to be here because you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. So maybe some people starting to disappear because maybe they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. We talked yesterday about Isaiah Agostave. Now, I'm not saying he didn't do what he wasn't supposed to do, but it did come out that he is in the transfer portal. Now, if he's still in the transfer portal, he didn't have any offers. And if he just voluntarily left and didn't have any offers, either he just wasn't happy, but we hadn't even played the spring game yet, so I don't know how you could be unhappy, or maybe he just wasn't doing what he was supposed to be doing. I don't know. He could be disgruntled. He could be unhappy, but hopefully he has an offer and he's not languishing in that portal. There's a player from the 2023 team that we all like that played safety in 23, but was shifted to linebacker in 24, and he hopped into the portal. And it's Trevor Woods, and they say he's still in the portal. I hope he's out by now. When Coach Prime said, do not hop in that portal if you don't have somewhere to go. Unless you just don't want to play football anymore. He meant it, and I see why. You're giving up your scholarship. You're giving up your education. For what? If you don't have somewhere to go. So after 2023 4-8, we saw some departures. We saw some people hop into the portal, and they should have. Because there were people that came to see you in 2023 that thought because Coach Prime is Deion Sanders, that they were going to skate their way somewhere. And when they didn't get what they wanted, they left. And sometimes those people went to other schools and they have come out in 2024 and say, I regret it. I should have stayed at CU. Not calling no names. Not necessary. But I'm not surprised. Because the portal was so new to some of these people that they thought that they could just every year transfer somewhere different. But when you leave one school, who says you're going to start at another school unless they came looking for you? But at CU, you're expected to earn it. We have a quarterback controversy with 2 elite QBs because they have to earn it. That is an example of what you should expect when you come to CU. If you don't want to compete for your spot, something you have to do in the NFL, then I guess they're not coming to CU. But the class of 2026 is knocking down the door after Coach Prime contract extension was completed and signed. So I guess some people are not afraid of competition. So for me, Jerry said, okay, let's see. We have a few people in here. Lala said, refresh my memory. Which game was the Tortilla Stadium? Oh, that was Texas Tech, and that was in 2024. This is 2023. The closest game in 2023 to Texas Tech in 2024 was Arizona State. So, Lala, I don't know if you remember when Shedeur did this for the first time. And there was You can see photos on the internet if you Google it. Fans yelling and screaming from Arizona State, saying all kind of horrible things, upset because he did this. And that's where the song Perfect Timing came from. And I had just made the comparison to Arizona State to Texas Tech. It seemed like the same school, students just rude, just rude for no reason, and allowed to be rude for no reason, meaning this is a long-standing practice. So Arizona State closely compares to the Texas Tech game in terms of the student body. All right. And it says, D. Johnson says Stanford, that hurt. Yes, Stanford did hurt because we were up by a sizable margin at the half. I distinctly remember. And they came out their locker room, and that was their first time getting whipped like that, meaning being up, especially after. Because when you think about it, okay, let's look at the position of the Stanford game. We had Oregon, which was horrible. We had USC, which was close. So we recovered from Oregon because USC was close. But again, USC was a setup. Oregon was a setup. I don't care what nobody say. Then there was UCLA, which was ugly. And I felt, in my opinion, that UCLA was like lingering. Something was taking place that was lingering from the Stanford game, because there were people that were upset with Shedeur because they were like, he's on his phone. Nobody was upset with Travis, but people did point out that he got burned. And then I remember number 23, Carter Stoudemire, lashed out at Coach Prime, and people were upset with him. Fans were like, he need to hop in the transfer portal because he don't know how to respect people. I'll never forget that. So Stanford is up there at the top as to one of the worst games. I'm going to give it that. There was a lot going on there. It was a lot going on. All right. And it says, Jerry says UCLA. So Jerry says UCLA. Yeah, UCLA was ugly. I don't know how many times Shedeur got sacked in that game, but it was enough for the head coach to come tell Shedeur that, they allowing my team to tee off on you. It was enough for that. All right. It said, I hope Juju doesn't transfer. Honestly, I don't. I mean, he's young, but he's student of the week. Juju is actually student of the week. Let me give him his props real fast. Let's see if I have it in here. Juju is student of the week along with another student who is a senior. It says he's majoring in exploratory studies, which I like for him because he's so young. He doesn't need to declare a major, in my opinion. I don't have it right now. But he's so young, he doesn't need to declare a major. I like the fact that he's doing exploratory studies. He doesn't go to classes. Come to find out at other schools, Florida State, they don't go to class. Florida Gators, the basketball team we're talking, they don't go to physical classes. Everybody's online. That's just the new way, I guess. I don't know who goes to classes and why, because it seems like the athletes don't go. So I said I want to talk about what is a day in the life like when your classes are online. How connected to the student body in activities outside of football are you? Or maybe there's no time. I don't know. It's almost like you go to the school to practice, but you never go to the campus outside of the football facility. That's kind of different. So yeah, UCLA was pretty bad too. It said, so, if he does, it'd be fine, but, it wouldn't surprise me. He's just so young. And things change. Lala said, yes, I just realized had the wrong year, but I'm with you now. Oh, you're fine. That's fine. All right. So there's 12 of us in here. Hit the like button for me, please. Subscribe. Thank you so much if you're new. Okay. So let's rank. All right. So the 3 nominations for the worst game are Stanford and UCLA. Surprisingly, nobody said Oregon. Is it because we think it was a setup? I mean, that's how I feel about it. So let's pick with UCLA and Stanford, which I believe Stanford out of the 2 is the absolute worst game that we played last year. So I'm going to go with Stanford. All right. All right. Stanford, worst game. Hold on one second. Worst game. (2023). All right. Yeah, we should have won that game. That was terrible. It says the portal opens next week. Coaches can talk to players. Really? Oh, that's why y'all are saying that. Because the portal opens next week. Wait, the portal opens after the spring game, right? Is that what it is? The portal opens because the spring game is a week from this Saturday. So next Saturday, the 19th. So does that mean that they can talk to players before the spring game or after the spring game? Let me know, Jerry. Let me know. Okay. Whew. Let's see. Okay, the second worst game. Maybe we should give it to UCLA, or should we compare UCLA to Oregon or UCLA to Washington State? I have a reason why Washington State should be the worst game. I'm waiting to see if anybody else gonna pick up on it. Washington State was absolute. That's mine. Washington State was the absolute second worst game. It was terrible. If you go watch the highlights, you just want to do like this. It was terrible. I'm like, defense just could not get it together, and offense didn't get an opportunity. So and they couldn't get nowhere. So I don't know. But Stanford game is the worst. I vote Washington State, UCLA, or Oregon. Out of the three, Washington State, UCLA, or Oregon, which one y'all think is the second worst game? Jerry, you said UCLA is the worst game. So do you believe that you feel like it's the second worst game since it's still out there? So UCLA, Washington State, or Oregon. Now, Washington State and Oregon have a lot in common. Those were beatdowns. I feel Oregon was sabotaged. Washington State, I have no clue. It just, honestly, I don't think Washington State was sabotaged. We just couldn't keep up. We just couldn't keep up. And then there were mistakes like the fumble, but it looked like the ground was wet. But the score was horrible, 56-14. It was the second to last game of the season, right before we go to Thanksgiving, a little bit after Halloween. It was not fun. It was not fun. I'm gonna just go with Washington State because it's just bad. All right. And y'all have to go watch the Washington State game. Does anybody know who the quarterback was for Washington State? Second worst, 2023. All right. D. Johnson said Oregon. Okay, hold on to that one. All right. So if I made Washington State the second worst, that means Oregon, UCLA are competing for the third worst game of the season. Now, UCLA was just before Halloween. The score. What was the score for UCLA? I can't remember the score. Yes. Thank you, D. Johnson. Cam Ward was the quarterback playing against Shedeur Sanders in that Washington State game. I can't believe nobody's talking about that. I'm shocked. I'm shocked. When I watched the highlight and I looked at the name, I was like, he did go there. And I've been saying I can't wait for those two to play in the NFL. They played in college. I wanted them to play when he was at Miami. They played already. I didn't even know it. Nobody talks about it. Isn't that crazy? That's just bizarre. You think they would hold that over Shedeur's head? Nobody talks about it. That's how you know they don't do no research. They don't watch film. They don't know who they really talking about. That's amazing to me. So we'll keep that as our little secret. All right. Oregon third for the Suns. Oregon and third for sure. Okay, yeah, we'll go with Oregon. All right, D. Johnson. We're going to go with that. We're going to go with that. The Ducks. Yeah, I like that. All right. Third worst game. I think it's raining. All right. Okay. All right. Now let's come back to Colorado State. But we won that game. But Travis got hurt. Hey Jackie, it say hey fam. I can't remember, but the referees were horrible, and we acted as if we didn't know what we came to do. Are you talking about what game are you talking about, Jackie? Are you talking about Oregon? Oh, I think that might be what you're talking about. Let me know which game you're talking about, and I'm going to agree. Even before I know, because the refs have never seemed to be on our side. I don't even know how we won 3-0, went 3-0 with the way they cheat us. I guess it was undeniable. Hey Kiel, how you doing? How you doing? How you doing? All right. So we're on the fourth worst game of the season. Now, even though we defeated Colorado State, that was horrible. It was a good game. We won, but Travis got hurt because of that ugly hit, and the referees were definitely not on our side. When Shedeur showed that he was upset at Henry Blackburn, the ref stood to defend and block Henry Blackburn. And remember, they never called it a dirty hit or a late hit. There was no penalty, no anything. You think it was Oregon? Yeah, no, you're right about that. So Colorado State for the dirty play and the refs not being neutral. That was the first time I noticed it. Then we have Arizona State for their rudeness. Then we have UCLA because Shedeur was sacked mercilessly, and I think that's the game he hurt his back. Those three are the fourth worst game. Colorado State, Arizona State, just like Texas Tech, just rude. But Colorado won that game. But see, sometimes you can win a game and it still could be bad. Just like we defeated Colorado State, but they hurt Travis. And we lost him for several games. And that late hit never got called. It was just, the refs clearly were biased at that point. And UCLA, that's when Shedeur got hurt. So what do y'all say? Jerry say yes after. Yes after what? I think it was Oregon afterwards. Okay, so the fourth worst game. I'm thinking Colorado State was the fourth worst game because of how the refs cheated us. They weren't biased. Travis got hurt. I think that was the worst one. Colorado State, I wanted to get back at that player. Yeah, that a lot of people did. I think he ended up getting threats of all sorts of kind, and people, and he and Travis did a video, and that kind of got people to calm down. And there were people like Travis should have did that video because that guy never apologized. And it was basically to calm down people from coming at his throat. Even though what he did to Travis, laceration of the liver, that was intentional. So, I'm going with that one. That's the fourth worst game. Colorado State for sure. Because that was just wrong. And remember, before the game, there was a little dust up. Yeah, that game was a little fourth worst. Colorado State. I think it's raining. CSU. I'll put CSU. And remember, that was the game, too, that the coach was being rude. If I'm not mistaken. Now, what year was it that the coach's wife was cussing out Shedeur? Was that the first year? Was that this year? Did we play them this year? I don't even know, but it was horrible. I think that was year one with the glasses and everything. That was year one. That was absolutely horrible. That's when the coach was taking personal shots at Coach Prime, talking about how his mama raised him. Then his wife, I don't know what made her decide to cuss out a college student because she's supposed to be mature and grown. I was like, y'all's household's just ugly, like just horrible, right? So yeah, fourth worst game, Colorado State for sure. Okay, now we have let's see, The fifth worst game. Okay. It's gonna either have to be UCLA, where Shedeur got hurt. Does anybody remember anything about the Utah game other than the coach riding in on a motorcycle? Now we lost 8 games, so it's a whole lot here to talk about. We on 4, so we can do 4 more. We probably gonna do the rest tomorrow because I gotta make a run for it. I told y'all I moved my time to 8 p.m. because this is gonna be a busy season for me. So I want to do another one so we get to 5, and then tomorrow we rank the rest of the worst ones. Let's see. I don't remember much about the Utah game. We already chose Washington State. That leaves Oregon State, Arizona. I think it might be UCLA. USC, I don't remember anything negative. I really don't. If Travis hurt him, they would have they wouldn't have forgave Travis. They probably would have suspended him. I'm pretty sure if Travis was that kind of dude that would do something like that, they would have suspended Travis. They would have used the opportunity to suspend him to make sure he didn't get in the Heisman race. All right, y'all. So let's talk about the 5th worst game. I think it might be UCLA because that's where Shedeur got hurt. All right, what y'all think? I'm gonna go with that one. 5th worst game, UCLA. I think we only lost that game by 7. UCLA. All right. Okay. Now, that's 5. Okay. 6. Let's see what 6 would be. Okay, this way it's starting to get a little dicey. All right. You have Arizona State. They were rude, like Texas Tech. Oregon State, I don't remember anything about them. Utah, don't remember anything about them. Okay, I know what I'm going with. Yes, it was Cam. Yep, it was Cam. Absolutely. Okay, I'm giving Arizona State the 5th worst game, even though we won that game. But the way they were acting, it was horrible. It was like Texas Tech. It was a foreshadow. I think they might be the same rowdy school. Let's see. I'm gonna go with the 6th. That's actually the 6th worst game. 6th worst game. 6th worst game. I'm going with ASU. All right. All right. So I'm gonna have to stop right here because I gotta get out of here. I will be back tomorrow. We can continue ranking. We have 2 more to rank. Let's see. Maybe I can get the other 2 in here. I might have to watch some film too. 6th worst game. We say ASU. Okay, so there's really 2 more to rank. 2 more to rank. I think I'm gonna have to watch some film because honestly, I don't know much about Arizona, Utah, USC. And Oregon State. I'd have to go watch those games because it's gonna be. We didn't lose all of those games, but again, it doesn't matter whether you win or lose. But there's nothing memorable about USC, Oregon State, Utah, and Arizona. There's nothing memorable about those games. So I would have to actually watch some film to come back and say, okay, this is the worst one. And because it's 2 more, we have 2 more that would be worse. And I don't think anybody mentioned any of these schools. So I think we're gonna leave it right here for tonight. Let me recap right fast, go back through the comments. For those of you that said, when I asked the question, what is it about the Washington State game that surprisingly nobody's talking about? It was the fact that Cam Ward played against Shedeur Sanders in college in Shedeur's first year at CU. And that was the game that was a BTA 56-14. And Shedeur, I don't think he played the whole game because I know I saw Ryan Staub. And remember, Washington State game came after Arizona, Oregon State, and UCLA. And I distinctly remember Shedeur getting hurt in the UCLA game. Surprisingly, though, nobody's talking about this. I didn't even know about it until I watched the highlights today. Okay, so we have the absolute worst game at Stanford. Yep, Stanford is the absolute worst game of 2023. Then the second worst game was Washington State, Cam Ward versus Shedeur. Washington was absolutely terrible. The third worst game was Oregon, no explanation needed. We believe some sabotage happened there. The fourth worst game was Colorado State. I feel like there should be no explanation needed. It was a lot of nastiness coming from the CSU side, on the field, off the field, by the coach, by his wife. It was just ridiculous. Then it was a dust up before the game. It was horrible. It was just horrible. Fifth worst game, UCLA, where I believe Shedeur got hurt. Sixth worst game, ASU, because they were acting like Texas Tech. They just didn't have no tortillas, but their behavior was just as poor. And good night, D. Johnson. Good night. So that's where we're going to stop. So tomorrow we're going to pick up with the 2 additional worst games to round out 7 and 8, because we had 8 losses. Then we're going to switch tomorrow, the back half of the podcast. We're going to talk about the best games. It ain't but 3. It ain't but 3. It's only 3. So we're going to talk about those. And then the next day, we'll begin to do some trivia from these games. So here's what you should do. And thank y'all. Hit the like button. Go watch highlights from 2023. I would go just watch some highlights from 2023. We haven't ranked Arizona yet. We didn't rank Utah. I would at least watch those games and then the good games. So you can rank the absolute best, then the second best, and the third best. Just watch the highlights. Those are short clips. And then we can all be on the same page tomorrow. And then you'll be ready for the trivia. So I'm going to get out of here and say good night. I appreciate y'all for hanging out with me. Don't forget, this is my busy season. So I'll be back tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I look forward to seeing y'all tomorrow. Thanks for watching What She Said. Good night, everybody. Good night.